Yes.
Like right now, if I were to as a marketer, to tell anybody about an idea or a strategy that is working, is ads, Facebook and Instagram ads.
That's my boy Mega.
What's up? What's up, Billy?
Both of them are going?
Yeah,
Cool,
they're both
nice.
on. I've been recording actually.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah. Smart.
Yeah, I've been recording just to capture that. And I was also I was testing the audio too, just to see how everything was going. Because I hate doing the whole like check 1, 2.
Yeah.
Because that's the horrible way to do it.
Yeah.
To test audio, I have to talk to people so I can actually see the levels.
Exactly.
Yeah, because it's like your natural speaking voice.
Smart.
Yeah. So I was recording.
Good stuff.
So.
Surprise.
Yeah, again, bro, thank you so much for coming by. Like I said, I just started this, so to be able to speak with someone like yourself is a huge opportunity, and especially the experience and knowledge that you have is super beneficial.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
it's my honor, man.
Yeah, definitely. So I think what's most important right now is to kind of give a little background on yourself. It's your opportunity to say what you do, who you are, and just get a little context on yourself.
Yeah, so I am this person with, so anyways, I'm born and raised in the Bay Area.
Yep.
And I was born in Oakland and lived there the first part of my life, and then moved to Hayward.
Okay.
So majority of my upbringing was in Hayward, California. And and I share that really to say, because that's going to lead to the, what transpired over the years, is I come from all the environments that a lot of people feel hold them back.
Yep.
That makes sense?
Yep.
From being surrounded from drugs and violence and abuse and, everything else that you can, alcoholism and what's dysfunctional family, all those different things. But all of those, it's so funny. You can have two siblings, as a matter of fact, right? Or two or more siblings grow up in the same household and end up on completely different paths, right?
Absolutely.
And it's really how they process those experiences. And so for me, all of those things is what inspired me from back then to do what I'm doing now.
Yeah. So
now that has led to me being this person who wants to tap into every bit of my potential. I was first introduced to entrepreneurship and the foundations of marketing about 16 years ago, and also personal growth.
Okay.
And I'm so glad I was introduced to both because I really feel like you either grow up being having the success principles ingrained because maybe you were lucky enough to have parents or guardians and people who raised you with a certain mindset, certain philosophies, and then you just go out and want to tap into everything. And if you didn't have that, which I didn't really, I had some seeds. My dad was an entrepreneur, failed entrepreneur, but I had some seeds planted there. But really, it was that personal growth. I've invested 6 figures, I'm sure, over the years. On me and developing my mind, skills, etc. And so now today, 2019, I'm effectively applying that in as many things as I can. I used to believe in the philosophy, and I still do in certain areas. John C. Maxwell says if you chase 2 rabbits, you won't catch either of them, right? And so I operated on that philosophy for years. And then I came across a really brilliant guy named Richard Branson.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
You know who that is?
Yep.
All right. So this guy is vested in about 400 companies. And of course he's not, you know what I mean? Like,
that guy's a monster.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not trying to be a Richard Branson, but the conclusion I came to is if he could do 400, I could do 4. Right?
Yeah.
Effectively.
Yeah.
And then we'll revisit it later. So, so now I'm owner of a company in the entertainment space. I'm a vice president of business development for a marketing agency. We talked about that recently.
Yeah.
And and also vice president of my region for a financial services company.
Okay.
And then a husband and a father, 2
Yeah.
kids. That's like another job,
Yeah.
right? 3 and 6-year-olds.
Don't forget
so.
DJ too.
Well, that's the sound space.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
that
yeah.
one. So yeah,
Yeah.
the entertainment space. I mean,
Yeah.
so yes, DJ, very much so.
Yeah.
Still super involved in that. So that's pretty much it. And I try to effectively do all these things without losing the foundation, which is working on me, keeping God first, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what we're up to, man.
Yeah. No,
Having fun.
Yeah, that's great, bro. Like what I was telling you earlier when I was setting everything up about I highly respect people who have multiple hustles because as young as we are, you know, like it's to me, like, cause like I'm the same person, you know,
Yes.
like I have so many different things going on because I'm like, bro, we're so young.
Yes.
It's like, why not?
Yes.
You know, why not? Something is going to work, you know, because the last thing that's always going in my head is like, I do not want to be on my deathbed and have that moment of regret
Yes.
to say like, man, I should have
Yes.
done that. I should have done that. Like we're young right now. Our bodies are able to handle this type of workload.
Yes.
Like why not?
Yes.
You know? So,
Absolutely.
yeah, definitely. So to give a little background, I met Billy through the entertainment space, working in the music and entertainment industries. Through mutual relationships, you've come by a number of times here at the studio and to go through listening sessions, just because you're a great tastemaker in the music industry to give your insight on a couple of tracks, especially with Omar. But with your experience in entrepreneurship, in being in the financial space as a financial coach, and also just you being in the music industry as a DJ, as a tastemaker, and being able to experience the actual being hands-on in the music industry, right? So all that experience coupled together. So my first question to you is, what would you say to a music artist, right? So all of your entire background put together, even as a father, right? What would you say to a music artist, let's just say they are in their early 20s to mid 20s, right? What would you say to a music artist that comes up to you and says, yo, 220, I am ready to go all in into my music career?
Yes. Got it.
What would you tell them?
Awesome. Well, so once you're going into early 20s, mid 20s, that means you're entering more and more responsibility, right? Everybody's circumstances are different in terms of lifestyle and so forth. And going back to everything that I do, we live in the Bay Area, right?
Yeah,
so it's like, it's almost a necessity. Before it was like a luxury to have multiple things going on. It was like kind of like a cool, like if you could.
Yeah.
But now it's like a necessity, right? For most people here in the Bay Area. So now to that artist, I would assess that person's financial, because there's no cookie cutter answer for that, because everybody has different things going on.
Absolutely.
So one of the biggest mistakes I made, do you follow Dan Locke? Have you seen his stuff?
No.
You haven't?
No.
This guy is blowing up.
What's his name? Dan Locke?
Dan Locke, L-O-K.
L-O-K,
Chinese
okay.
guy.
Okay.
But he was mostly raised in Canada. Anyways,
Okay.
brilliant guy. But anyways, he talks about don't go into business when you need money or when you're broke or in debt or something like that.
Yeah.
So a lot of times people will go into all in, whether it's in music or whatever they're doing, out of necessity. And that's a very dangerous place to operate.
Okay.
Because you're distracted, your circumstances are occupying a lot of your mental space and creativity.
Yeah.
So, which that's everything, right? When it comes to art.
Yeah.
So I would first make sure before they say go all in to make sure that they have somewhat of a solid foundation financially and so forth, because they're going to have to invest in themselves. It's going to, in different things. So that's the first place I would actually start, is to say, make sure you have your financial literacy on point.
Yeah.
Make sure you have your baseline covered. Some artists, even if they are in their early 20s, are lucky enough to maybe live with their parents and stuff like that. It's 2019. That's not a bad thing. When I'm 36 now. Yeah. So when I was 18, it was like a thing of like, you're 18, okay?
You got to move out.
Start wrapping your mind around this idea of the real world. 19, okay, why are you still here? So, but now the average student, even after graduating college, is leaving with debt, moving back in with parents. So things have changed. So if that's their circumstances, that's actually kind of, really good thing. But but that also can be dangerous because it can create a comfort zone as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have to, find that internal drive for doing what you want to do. Yeah. So the financial literacy part is everything. And then the second part is just really, so Tom Watson, founder of IBM, he said key to success is to double your rate of failure. So when you talk about what we're saying, like we got all this potential and all this, why not, tap into it all as effective as we can. Well, that applies to us. That also applies to the artist. Speed up your rate of failure, because you learn. That's how you learn.
Yeah.
A lot of people fail or they get some negative kickback and then they stop and they get stuck in their tracks. Like, oh, I didn't really go how I wanted it. It's like, no, learn the lessons, keep it moving, and you get better each time. So for that artist, I would say make sure the financial literacy part is on point. The second thing is I would say get who you are around. I know you guys have always been on top of that. Like, who you're around, your associations is so key. You become the average of who you hang around. So make sure who you're around is just as devoted. Yeah. Because sometimes our vision is here, and then the people we spend the most time with are not as driven. Yeah. And it's keeping us here.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's that. That's it. Associations and financial literacy is where I would start. So
to kind of go into what you're saying, times are moving, times are changing. 2019, we find a lot of post-college graduates moving back in with their parents.
Yes.
To start building their future careers, right? So going back into that,
yes,
right? What are your thoughts on kind of the saying like living within your means, kind of deal? So in the music industry, a lot of people, it's, you see it's very common. They want to stunt. They want to go out, pop bottles, do all that stuff, and make it appear like they're doing it. What are your thoughts on that? Like, if this music artist was like, yo, man, but I mean, I got to get the new whip, and I got to get some new fits and all this, I just got to pop bottles and all that stuff. Like, what would you tell them in regards to, like, being humble or kind of just living within your means? I mean, like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's a lie.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot. Most of the time, it's overcompensating for if you don't believe in yourself or if you really don't have solid talent.
Yeah.
But if you do, then that stuff won't be necessary. Think about the artists that now. Can it help if you have those things? Yeah, but there's a lot of people who have the money and all that stuff and still don't go anywhere.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So what I would say is look at the artists who actually don't do any J. Cole.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could go on and on. So now J. Cole is not the best example as far as to compare the average person as far to his talent. But there's so many other examples of people who did not do that before they blew up, and then blew up and have the money, and they still don't do that actually. You know what I mean? And they might even, some of them actually do have some really nice cars, but you don't see them flexing like that.
Yeah.
So I think and that's going back to the financial literacy piece that I was saying, is you gotta make sure your mind is right.
Yeah.
Financially, because that'll end up becoming so much. I have a lot of friends that are artists, and one of the things that I personally believe that leads to momentum for artists, entrepreneurs, etc., is consistency, right?
Absolutely.
And so a lot of artists' consistency is broke because there's distractions. They're starting to build up some momentum, and then they get taken off track because some issues going on financially, and then they got to go back, take steps back, handle that stuff, breaks their momentum, and then you don't hear from them, see any content, and then a year later they're like, all right, here I am. It's like, bro, who are you?
Yeah, no, that's tough because it's like you take all that time to build some momentum, and then all of a sudden you take a break, and then it's like when you look at it on a linear, like as if it were a linear graph, right? You build all this momentum, it drops off, and now you got to put in a bunch of more work to try to build it back up.
Exactly.
As opposed to staying consistent and just building it up.
Exactly.
And I wholeheartedly agree. I was talking to one of our close friends. He's a mix engineer. He actually does all the mixing and mastering for Omar.
Nice.
And going back to that whole I'm trying to flex and do all this stuff. He said something that really stuck to me and I thought it was amazing because his name is Narek, by the way, Narek Ambar. So
I think I met him.
yeah, I'm pretty sure you've met him
Yeah.
before. So Narek was like, most of these artists are in love with the lifestyle and not the craft.
Yes.
You know, because the ones that are really dedicated to just like, yo, I love the music, they would be like, oh, stuck in the studio writing and recording. Until he met John, he really wasn't going out, you know? So that, so that is
I remember that transition.
yeah. So that is a huge thing, and I wholeheartedly agree. And also going back to
Very good.
yeah, going back to and being able to, and what you were saying with just being able to have like a financial base, but more so like not starting a business out of necessity. So like my background is when I first left the automotive industry, when I was 25, I went all into music that first time around because I hated my job.
Yes.
Not that I needed the money, it's just I wanted a better quality of life.
Yes.
You know, and you know, for someone in your position who has gone through so much personal growth and has invested in so much personal growth, what are your thoughts on like quality of life? Because there are so many people right now, you know, they go to college, they, you know, their first mindset is like, yo, I gotta start a family, I gotta buy a house, get that whole ball rolling, I gotta get my career started, but then they end up getting stuck in a career where they're really just doing it for the money to support a lifestyle that they feel like society wants them to fall into.
Absolutely.
You know, so what are your thoughts on just like quality of life?
That's actually one of my huge core values.
Yeah.
And I really think for me, my perspective is that it comes down to living a life of purpose, but you also don't have to sacrifice your passion. And some people are lucky enough where their purpose is their passion. Like you should be passionate about your purpose, but there's some things that you're passionate about that isn't your purpose.
Yeah.
So here's an example, DJing, passionate about it. It's not my purpose though.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But coaching people, helping people, seeing people grow, or if it's not something I can directly give them, then I want to lead them to resources to help them grow and tap into their potential and so forth. So what do I mean by purpose? Well, I believe that everybody has a purpose, and then not everybody's purpose requires them to go to school, but there are some people whose purpose is in a job, right?
Yeah.
For example, there's some people who are in medicine that are extremely gifted, and that is their purpose. That is where they should be.
Yeah.
And so that's a regular job, and maybe they, make great money, but some of them might be, in an area of medicine that requires them to work crazy schedules and hours. And so quality of life and time, flexibility and things like that might not be the best, but it might counterbalance with the type of income they make, right?
Yeah.
But then there's people like me where the things that I feel are my purpose, there's no class for. There's no degree for it.
Absolutely.
And so I did go to school. I went to school for computer science. I don't know if you know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
You're a programmer?
No. So what I was going to school for was more of design.
Oh, okay.
And mainly the area that I was focusing on back then, most of those jobs don't exist here anymore as much, or they're in India, or a lot of the stuff people can do themselves, right? So once I started, I got laid. It took for me to get laid off from a job, actually. So for you, it was different. You came to your own realization, however that happened. For me, I got laid off while I was going to school. I was going to school full time, working full time, crazy schedule. Always, I guess that's been the theme. But I got laid off, and it was not because I did anything. It was just I was working for the Oakland School District. They went over budget and laid off a lot of people. And so in that time, and I don't know if you know, before I was DJing, I was rapping. So in that time of being, it's a lot of stuff you don't know, probably.
I had a hint that you were a music artist. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so in that time of being laid off, I didn't rush into the next job.
Yeah.
I allowed time to process, and so I was just in the studio every day, going to school, figuring out where I wanted to go, what direction I wanted to go, and that's when I was actually introduced to entrepreneurship and business and personal growth. And I'm thankful for that, because if my friend who introduced me to these concepts tried while I was happy and content with my job,
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have been open because I was comfortable.
Yeah.
It took for me to get laid off to become open.
Yeah.
Right. So, so I believe that choosing what you want to do, here's my philosophy, 2 things. Does it give you a sense of purpose? And purpose is just making a positive impact that impacts others or impacts the world, right? And 2, go 10 years out and ask yourself, is that what you want to do?
Yeah.
And so what I was going to school for, I started actually asking people who were already 5-10 years into that career, how they felt about it.
Yeah.
I didn't find one person that was happy.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
And I was like, wow. And so that's my philosophy now.
Yeah.
Instead of you wasting 5-10 years to figure something out, go take somebody to lunch from that field and ask them the questions, how they feel about it. Are they still passionate about it? Do they feel like they felt 5-10 years ago when they started?
Yeah.
And you will be surprised of the people who and the responses. So that's what I did, and that's how I choose what I do now.
Yeah.
So
You know, one thing I tell my lady, you know, obviously you saw that post where I helped her kind of build her social presence. I know for a fact that she is most happy doing dance fitness. You know, so prior to this, prior to doing all this, she was in this space where she was like, I don't know if I want to go into interior design, because that's what she went to school for, you know? I don't know if I want to pursue this. I don't know if I want to do this. I just don't know. I'm like, well, you have to start asking yourself you have to constantly start asking yourself questions. And at the same time, you have to proactively keep searching for the answers to that, you know? And so you telling me this story, and of course calculating your age, I would guess that I would assume that you're like in your mid-20s during this whole time.
20 years old. Yeah. I was exactly 20.
Right? So you spent your 20s, it sounds like, looking for those right answers to kind of put you in the right space. So
kind of.
Yeah.
Actually, so here's the mistake I made. So I fell in love. So sometimes when we do step into our first first venture. There you go, right? Especially for entrepreneurship or whatever it is, or it could be a hobby sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes the first one we fall in love with it, and can become closed to other things and in evolution. So I was so committed to that first thing because I had not. So the seeds were planted when I was around 12 years old. The entrepreneurial seeds. Again, my dad had owned an arcade and did some other things, jack of all trades. Dope. Yeah, that was cool. We actually lived in it for a while. So anyways.
That's like a dream as a kid.
Pretty cool. Right.
Dope.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So pinball machines, pool table, all that stuff.
Yeah,
anyways, and that was in Oakland. So that was really the seeds. But really around 12 years old, I don't remember what I was watching I just remember it was like, I think I was watching something on TV. And I think it was like a music artist at this time. And I was like, you know what? This is me by myself. I talked to myself. I think you and I was like, you know what? I was like, rich people aren't rich because of their talent all the time.
Yeah.
There's some really, I'm sorry, not their talent, but their intellect. There's a lot of wealthy people who are not that brilliant, right?
Yeah.
Not, and so when I came to that conclusion, I was like, it must be something else. And I was like, it could, or other things like opportunity, timing, and different thing. I said, if I ever get a shot or find something I'm gonna run with it.
Yeah.
That was at 12, I made that decision. So fast forward, I get into my first venture and I'm like, this is it.
Yeah.
And I fall in love with it.
Yeah.
And actually what I learned over time, you read books like The Millionaire Next Door, you read these patterns of people who studied entrepreneurs, and your goal might not be a millionaire, right? And that's fine, everybody has different goals. However, the average millionaire, self-made millionaire at that time, it might have changed since, this is like over 10 years ago, did not make it until their 7th or 8th different venture. And I spent 11 years on my first one.
Damn.
So I'm grateful because of all the lessons I learned, the skills that I developed, I'm able to apply now. But I was so closed to the other things that I could have tapped into maybe years earlier. So that's what I'll definitely say about that. And you're right. Shout out Rachel. Good leaders ask great questions.
Yeah.
And, in the book Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill talks about the word education, and the prefix to education is educo, and that means to basically learn from within.
Yeah.
And so we have the answers, and we just follow our intuition.
Yeah.
Be surprised to what it could lead to.
Yeah. And that kind of leads to like another thought where it's being able to just grow out your own self-awareness.
Yes.
And what you're telling me about the story of when you're 12, it sounds like what clicked in your head was like, there's something else other than someone's IQ that can determine their quote unquote success.
Yes.
And of course success is subjective, but I don't know if you heard, so I started reading a book. Well, I don't read, but I mean like audiobook.
Yeah.
I do that.
Right.
I could like multitask while I'm like listening
Yes.
to a book. I love that. But emotional intelligence, right? I think the book is Emotional Intelligence 2.0. And I just started reading into the whole idea of emotional intelligence, about your EQ and stuff. And I guess from the research that I've read, that it's your EQ that's mostly connected to your financial quote unquote success in life, more so than it is your IQ.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very, very true.
Yeah.
And shout out Audible.
Yeah, for real.
Man, yeah, I started this journey. What did you say?
$14.99 a month.
Yes. I started this thing with books, so I still have a lot of my books.
Yeah.
I think since I started this journey, I've now completed about 400 hard copies and audiobooks.
Jeez.
Or in audio.
Like fully
audio
read cover to
courses.
cover?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, that's crazy. I only read 6 books in my whole life.
Yeah, for real?
From cover to cover.
This
I know,
is,
for sure.
again, another statistic, I don't know if it's changed, but they say the average adult only reads one book. 65% of adults only read one book after high school.
That's crazy.
But one of my mentors taught me at 20 years old,
Yeah.
if you ever want to hide something, put it in a book, because the average person will never look there. It's like
That's hella funny.
Yeah, he said
That's so
all
true.
the secrets are in books, and
Yeah.
and really the philosophy is, why spend your whole life trying to figure something out that somebody else has already spent their whole life figuring out, and they put it in a book for you to read in a month.
Yeah.
So, anyways, absolutely, you are right about that. And a lot of times when you say emotional intelligence, it's a lot of psychology around money, and so one of my favorite books is actually Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. I don't know if you heard of that one yet.
No.
It's a powerful book, man. This will actually help some people financially, especially artists. So your upbringing, stuff you saw around money, the things you saw your parents, the things you heard them say around money, these sayings that you were taught, money isn't everything, money is the root of all evil, blah, 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 blah. All these things established cemented conditioning for us around money.
Yeah.
And what it actually did is it created a financial thermostat. So if you set the thermostat at 75 degrees
Yep.
and it gets extremely cold, the heater is going to automatically cut on and bring it back to 75.
Yep.
If it gets hot, air conditioner brings it back down to 75. So guess what? Our financial intelligence, most people's financial intelligence is set at no money in the bank, or spend every dollar I get, or flex before I even get the money.
Yeah.
Right? Things like that.
Yeah.
And that's where their thermostat is set. So even if they come up on some money unexpectedly, or they have a nice run, if their financial thermometer or thermostat is set at $500 in their savings or less, if they go out and start doing some shows or whatever, they will find a way to spend all that money and bring it back down to 500, no matter how much money it is. It could be I won the lottery, it could be whatever it is. Or the opposite is true. If they fall into a dip, or whatever the case is, their EQ emotionally kicks in and brings them back to whatever their threshold is. And they stop though. They don't keep going. If they just kept going, right? So
They always come back to the median.
it doesn't matter.
And
And it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how much money you make, wherever your thermostat. So you actually have to work on that. And I went through that because I was raised around a lot of those principles. I didn't see money managed well. I saw struggle. So I actually had to do a lot of my work breaking that.
Yeah.
So,
and I think, I think this is like, very like going into what you're saying. A lot of people, especially like newly graduate college students, and just people in their early 20s, and just young people like ourselves. It's kind of groomed in our head that the measurement of your quote unquote success is money.
Yep.
You know, so a lot of people use that as like their measurement of their like ROI
Yes.
on life is how much money we have, what kind of car you drive, do you own a house, and all this. But to me personally, like when I left, like I got laid off too when I was 19, when I was 21. That was the first time I got laid off.
Oh, wow.
And I was in the automotive industry. That's when I started my career. I was 19, and I got laid off after 2 years when I was 21. And then I spent 6 months on unemployment until I went back into the automotive industry. And all I did for 6 months was make beats and submit them to music libraries. And I started getting like TV placement and stuff. But throughout that whole time, and then going into the automotive industry again, and then leaving for the first time, my whole like measurement on life and that whole ROI wasn't money.
Yes.
You know, like I was making I built a good career in the automotive industry. I was making good money, but I was so freaking stressed out, like beyond belief. You know, that's the whole reason why I left, was improve quality of life and no longer have my ROI be money.
Yes.
Because that's what I chased. I was like, I got to be a manager. I got to start doing this. I'm like 25. I got to get the ball rolling. I'm like this, and this. But then my ROI in life from that point forward has been just happiness.
Yes.
And the quality of my life. Like, do I have time to go do the things that I want to do? Like, do I have time to go play piano? Do I have time to go make a beat? You know? And yeah, I mean that's it. Like, what do you think about?
I agree. I'm so glad you asked this, because I did want to clarify this, because
Yeah.
sometimes people can misconstrue our message, specifically mine, because I do want to help people do well financially. A lot of people twist that into
As
their
like,
own meaning.
you're trying to make me, or you're trying to be like one of those like make me a millionaire overnight.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
or just thinking that my prime priority is money, or that money hungry and things like that.
Yeah.
Actually, the funny thing is, people who don't have money are more committed to money than me, if that makes sense. Meaning that actually my goal is to help people get solid financial literacy and become financially independent, to get money out the way.
Yeah.
So they can focus on their purpose.
Yeah.
That's the goal. Because until they get money out the way, the average person is working 40, 50, 60, 70 plus hours a week doing something that is not in alignment with their purpose.
Yep.
And so because they're doing all that, they have no time left for their purpose.
Yeah.
So I want to help people become financially independent in whatever way that is. That doesn't mean they have to become an entrepreneur either, or independent at anything.
Yeah.
Again, they might love their job. For example, they might be a really good teacher. Going back to that purpose thing, there's some teachers that's their purpose. Like there's some teachers I've seen in the classroom, they are amazing.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
So it's like, but if there's something I can do for that teacher, because the average teacher, I don't believe most of them don't get paid what they're worth, right?
Yeah,
they spend as much time with our kids than
they're coming out of pocket,
buying
their own supplies, and that to me is like.
So hey, keep teaching if that's what your passion or purpose is. But if there's something, a resource or something I can do to help them become a little more financially independent, so that they can have a peace of mind, because I've also seen the opposite, where a teacher is stressed out about personal life, and they bring that energy to the classroom.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So that's really what it's about. And but going back to the happiness thing, I'm a strong believer. These are principles I didn't know those first 10 years, and I was chasing the money out of necessity, because I started business in debt and behind. I started with student loans, right? Laid off. And let's start a business, right? So it was about the money initially, but you learn these different values. And I did learn over the years that happiness is actually a prerequisite to success, right? And all the other things. So choose happiness first. Yeah. How do you do that? Every month, every year, me and people I work with, we always encourage each other to start off with gratitude. Start off with the things that you're already grateful for, that you already have. Yeah. And you'll learn that the most valuable things are things that money can't buy anyways, right? And that's where happiness starts.
Yeah. Because my whole thing was like, the thought I always have in my head is like, you're more likely to, do well at what you do if you actually enjoy it.
Yes.
You know, and you're happy doing it versus like the reason why I went into the automotive industry because I had a huge interest in cars. You know, my parents pushed me and groomed me to become an engineer out of high school to go into college to become an engineer. But I'm like, I hate this stuff. Like I cannot mechanical engineer, you know? And I was like, I like building stuff, but I'm like, no, this is definitely not for me. I don't like math that much, you know? I'm good at it, but it doesn't mean I love it, you know? But that's why I went into cars. My parents were heartbroken, but you know, I went into something that I enjoyed. And then, you know, I spent enough time in the industry to be like, this isn't for me. I love the business side. I love the business side, but then music and dance has always been there, so that's why I pursued that. You know, so quality of life, ROI should be happiness and not the money. And I'm glad you gave context around that because there's a lot of people out there who will see like those ads on Facebook. Like they'll see like, you know, not to put him down or anything, but like Ty Lopez and stuff. You know, you know, like those ads to me were so funny. But I mean, shout out to the guy. The guy's doing it. But it's just so funny. Like he'll just always film. You know, these are my cars. I read a book a day. If you don't read a book a day, you're stupid. Or something like that, you know. But I think that was just when I think of it as a marketer, I think that was like his way of getting your attention, which really worked.
It did, and it still does, and it's allowed him to brand himself in a phenomenal way where he's able to tap into. He creates a funnel for every space that pops up. Crypto blows up. Tyler, he has new videos on crypto, like it's crazy. Like, but so he's a smart guy in that sense. But yeah, you're right. And now there are some people who do really have, you know, intentions that aren't pure, right? And it is all about the money, and that it is what it is for whatever reason. But there's a lot of other people who come from a place. Again, going back to that guy Dan Locke. He is another guy who at first can seem that way as well. But when you get into his content, you really learn that he really just wants to help people be financially free for quality of life.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you could be happy at 40 grand, 50 grand a year. And you know, like rather than killing yourself at 180,000. Take 80,000, take 50,000, and be freaking happy.
Right. You know? Well, and okay, so I'm glad. So one last thing too on that whole thing to differentiate the money motivation thing is, so when I say I want to help somebody become financially independent, you know, Robert Kiyosaki says it best in, you know, Rich Dad Poor Dad, right?
Damn, you read hella books, bro.
Oh yeah. Robert, and as far as if anybody's wondering, because a lot of people will probably say, you know, any recommendations on books that So as far as financial literacy, number one for me is Robert Kiyosaki. Rich Dad Poor Dad is the first book I recommend to start with. Then you go to Cash Flow Quadrant and some of his other content. But he says definition of financial freedom and getting out of the rat race is when your assets produce more income than your monthly expenses. That's it. So if a person's bills are $3,000, or if you're in the Bay Area, it's like $12,000 a month. No, I'm just kidding. But whatever your monthly expenses are, let's say $4,000 a month or something like that, or whatever. Once you have assets that pay you more than that $4,000 a month, hopefully a little more, for especially in entrepreneurship, for taxes and everything else. Once it pays you more than your expenses, you're financially independent and you have freedom, flexibility. So that's it. It's not about becoming wealthy, right? But for me, for people who see me going after bigger goals, working harder, building multiple things, that's because I personally believe there's that part, which is live comfortable, make sure expenses are taken care of independently. But my purpose is so huge that it requires a lot of financial capital. Makes sense? Because of the impact I want to make. And that's the funny thing is most of the financial goals that I have is more about giving actually. But if people don't know that, it could come across like he just wants
to take.
Yeah, exactly. So
absolutely. You read The Go-Giver?
I did not read it.
Bro.
Do I have it? No, I didn't read it. I have friends that read it.
I think they came out with, there's like...
Came out like 10 years ago now or something.
Yeah, but there's like 3 other books that they came out. There's the one that I just finished recently, shout out Audible, is Go-Giver Influencer. But so they have this whole series. I think they have Go-Giver Leadership, then they have like Sales, and then they have the original Go Giver. But you should definitely read the Go Giver. It's just that it's that same idea. It's just give more than you take.
Yes.
You know, and the return back to you will be there.
Yes.
You know, it'll be tremendous.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here, by the way.
Yeah.
So I operate on that philosophy.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, you know, if you're available, and that's why the funny thing is, you were like, hey man, don't want to, you know, inconvenience. You're like, you know, making sure you don't inconvenience me. And I'm like, you don't understand. This is actually a priority of my life.
Yeah.
This is part of my purpose.
Yeah.
So when you're thinking you're inconveniencing me, I'm more thankful to be here than you probably are to have me.
Bro, that is the exact reason why when you texted me, the first thing that came through my mind was like, I gotta get this guy on a podcast. I gotta get him in here, you know?
Yeah.
So that was like one of the main things that was going through my mind. But
yeah,
no,
because it's, you know, pay it forward, right?
Yeah.
You saw the movie, right? No?
Pay for it, no.
No? Wow, that's a powerful concept. Anyway, but
I know the Starbucks thing. I know that whole story.
well, you know, the general concept is pay me back.
Yeah.
Right? Pay me back. Right? Pay it forward is about how different would the world be if whatever was done for you, you paid it forward to 3 people. And then they looked for deeds or things to do for 3 people.
Yeah.
And the impact it would make across the world.
That
And
sounds
so I won't give away any more in the movie.
Yeah.
It's a really strong movie. But this is how I do that, whether it's, because a lot of times people feel like, man, I would like to do something positive, but then they think they need money to do it. But no, it could be your skills, it could be your knowledge, right?
Absolutely.
So that's why I love doing this stuff, because if I've invested all this time, 16 years and blah, 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 into investing in myself, my skills, etc. It's a responsibility for me to share that. And if I can't share all of those years in this short time on this podcast, but I can share ideas to inspire people on their journey of the next 10, 16
Bro,
years.
that's the exact reason why I started making more content, because I'm like, I feel like a lot of the stuff that I've been through and a lot of stuff I've done, there's a handful of people out there who have done it, and there's also a large percentage of people who haven't done it. And just that journey and those thoughts and that kind of mindset would be, I'm pretty sure there's people out there who would find it valuable.
Yes.
And it would be like, I would feel super selfish if I just kept it all to myself. You know, so why not have conversations like these where we could share those ideas and open it up to the people that are actually interested in seeing this content. So it's the exact reason why. But the last thing, like I said, I don't want to hold you up too much, but the last thing I wanted to really touch on before we close this out is the credit coach. I know when you texted me, you're like, I want to aggressively build out the credit coach. And I actually have a friend who's also in the financial space too, who wants to build something out similar. So tell me about that account, and tell me about like what you're doing there to grow it out, and what your plans are.
Okay, great. Yeah. So again, just, you know, one thing I'm also adamant about is I strive to have resources to go with the knowledge.
Okay.
Because if I give a person a bunch of motivation, books, resources, and things that'll motivate them, what happens is, let's say, for example, I get somebody excited about the idea of financial independence, but then I don't give them any resources. I'm like, you should be free. You should have this quality of life. Go figure it out. Right? That sucks, right? And I think that's what Ty Lopez tries to do, is he motivates, but at least he gives resources and opportunities, even if it's not my style or somebody else's. For people who it is for, it can be a benefit. So actually, I do have a friend who actually is doing very well, who took Ty Lopez's course, who does marketing for companies. So, I guess it works, right? Yeah. So, but yeah, what if he just motivated you, showed you the cars, and sold you motivation, but didn't give you resources? That wouldn't be fair.
Yeah.
So for me, I started as a client of the services that I offer now. Okay. And so again, starting in entrepreneurship, I started learning business, started learning certain principles about financial literacy, but never learned credit. So I made a lot of mistakes with my credit. Yeah. And so over the years, I heard about the concept of credit restoration, but also heard some mixed messages. And and then I had a friend that actually did it successfully. So fast forward to a few years ago, that's when I stumbled across a company that was unique in that space. And I was like, I'll go with this one. I'll try this one. And when I saw what they did for me, I was like, people need to know about this. They need to know the real way that it works. They need to be educated on it. And that's how I got introduced to that space. Okay. So now in our region, I'm a vice president. So in our region, I'm a vice president for the company, but I can operate in all the states. And we're basically helping people restore their credit. Things that most people wouldn't be able to do for 7 or more years, we help them do in a matter of 7 months, or or whatever. Everybody's credit's different, but so we're helping people with that, financial literacy, estate planning, and these are basically providing the resources to go with the knowledge. That's the whole goal. And we pretty much provide everything that doesn't require a license. I didn't want to get insurance license. I have friends that provide all that stuff. But that's what we do in that space. So
So coming to you as now I'm putting on my marketing hat, as a marketer. I checked out the Credit Coach Instagram. So you said you're gonna push to aggressively grow that account.
Yes.
Just curious, because as a marketer, like I said, what are things that you have planned for growth and stuff?
So, and it's just really content. It's content, and not just content in terms of information, right? But later today we have a big event going on in San Francisco. And so that's in action, right? And being able to capture that, not only build my own personal brand offline and in settings like that, but also capturing that and then putting it online and so forth. So I'm going to be highly active in terms of just simply investing and also in creativity and just really capitalizing. So what I plan to do is provide a lot of valuable free content for people that they can benefit from. That's going to pretty much be natural for them to want to tell somebody, right? And other people that can relate. So a lot of free content and then a lot of branding, right? And really right now it's trending heavily as far as credit restoration and so forth. So I have a few things that I'll be doing to just kind of set myself apart in that space because it's a lot of noise. And you know how that is. So it's everybody's a rapper, right? Everybody's a DJ, so how do you separate yourself in that space? Well, there's a lot of people who do credit restoration, very few people who have 16 years of, marketing and personal growth and branding and all of those skill sets to apply to that. And that's basically what I plan to do in that space. So I'm definitely looking forward to it.
So I think going back to what you stated before, or like what you said before about music artists and consistency, my suggestion as a marketer is to apply that same concept to this, like make consistent content and just put out as much valuable information as you can. Well, valuable content as much as you can, like, and then run ads behind it. Like right now, if I were to as a marketer, to tell anybody about an idea or a strategy that is working, is ads, Facebook and Instagram ads. When you run it behind actual content that your target audience finds valuable, I would go and pretty much go all into this method. Just because, like, when I did stuff with other music artists and my time on Vine with Omar, and when we were growing it out, early Vine and like early Instagram, when we were using influencer marketing, the mistake that we made, or the mistake that I made, I'll put it on myself because it was my responsibility, but the mistake that I made was that I didn't encourage him and I didn't encourage us together to really put more into influencer marketing. Because bro, we were getting revines for $5, you know? We were getting like revines across like huge channels, like million, 2 million, 3 million plus channels for like $5, $10, $20, and there was a permanent post.
Wow.
And they were just, the return that we were seeing in like the attention that we were getting was like, it was there, because we were using dancing to grab people in, and you know, Omar and I were dancing to his music or to our music, and it was just pulling people in, and they were bleeding over into SoundCloud, into Spotify.
Wow.
And we, in my head, I was like, oh, cool, it works. And we just thought, I kind of like, took it for granted.
Yes.
You know, like I always thought it's gonna be there.
Yes.
And then the digital space moves so quickly.
Yes.
In like 6 months or like less than a year, that tactic just did not work anymore. People caught onto it, you know, and the return was just not there anymore. You know, so that's where I messed up. And if I could go back, that's like one little regret that a small regret that I have is that we didn't go hard into that idea.
Got you.
So Facebook and Instagram ads right now, while it's still dirt cheap, like the cost per acquisition, cost per new follower that I'm getting for Rachel is averaging out to 7 and 8 cents.
Nice.
Right? But that's on an international basis because fortunately, Zumba is on an international level, so I can target a wider audience. You know, the US market is, US, Canada, like North America, the domestic market is a lot more expensive. You got to do a couple of different strategies and ideas to acquire new followers. But for the most part, like, Facebook and Instagram ads work.
Yes,
and
they do,
and they're
actually.
dirt ass cheap right now, you know?
Definitely.
So I would highly suggest that.
Yeah, appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
I'll be coming back to you for more as we really build that. And I've already, you know, just done some testing stuff, and I have gotten some great results, especially from Facebook. It's so funny. Isn't it so funny how people try to like push out Facebook?
Yeah, because like,
oh,
that's for old people. That's gone. Yeah, but
well, you don't understand. You don't understand business. And I get there's a lot of brands that are most effective in Instagram, but a lot of stuff you can get so much traction through Facebook ads.
Yeah. Oh, bro, and the one more thing, before I forget, is if you are running ads, to me, I think the most valuable thing is the audience data. So if you're not using Facebook audiences, you need to use Facebook audiences.
Okay.
Because all that ad data, you need to be able to curate it and collect it and just data mine it. You know, because that's what's working with Rachel is that I'm running all these ads, but I'm collecting all this audience data, so I know I can retarget these people, or I could set up what's called like lookalike audiences, which is like Facebook's AI to say like, okay, these are all the people that I've ran ads to. I spent like $500 running ads to these people. Now Facebook, I want you to take a sample of these people and find me people that look like these people and advertise to them.
Yes.
You know, but in order to get there, you need to have that initial Facebook data or that audience data. And if you're not collecting that data, then you're just like letting your dollars go out the door. You know, so that's super important.
That is, yes.
Yeah. Facebook audiences, use that.
Yeah.
If you're not
Thank
using
you.
that. Yeah.
Well, appreciate it, man. And I always learn stuff from you, actually, every time we talk, which is funny, which I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
So definitely, you know, not only appreciate you having me, but I'm definitely looking forward to you building this out, man. Yeah. I know you got a lot of value.
Thank
you know, as we become more experienced and more, you know, time goes by, we start operating on unconscious competence, meaning like there's stuff that you forgot because of all the different things you learn. There's a lot of stuff that you probably forgot. It's there, but it won't come out unless you have a conversation like this, right? Like you like just naturally, you went all the way back to 19 years old. You know, how often do you have that conversation, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So, so definitely looking forward to, you know, just continue to be a fan of this content and build this thing out, man. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, bro, it's absolutely my pleasure. But before we close it out, just for the audio space, because it's going to be on video, Billy, you gotta shout out your Instagram handle, Twitter, Facebook, all of that, your website.
Yeah, so on, I need to have them all the same, I know that. But anyways, on Instagram, most of my DJ stuff is all the same, DJ 220, 220. But for credit_connect on Instagram is the main account. So I'm there, and then on Facebook is Billy D. Scott, and that's it.
Cool.
Yep.
I'm gonna put all those handles in somewhere in here.
Yep. Right.
I'm gonna put that somewhere in there. But for the audio podcast, yeah, you heard Billy. Check him out. Other than that, bro, I appreciate you coming in.
All right, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you, brother.